presentation will be about 45 to 50 minutes.
The other person
Everybody
is
will be
KCP.
muted. So just make sure that we're going to make use of the chat box a lot for questions. When I ask questions, I'm going to have a lot throughout the program. And then we'll have some live questions at the end as well. So dietitians really do replace false information that's out there with facts. And the adults and families that I work with, they have a lot more to unlearn than to learn. So I am perfectly healthy or imperfect, not so perfectly healthy is the goal of my session today. The focus of my presentation, so the slide is not moving. I'm pressing enter, I'm pressing the arrows. Does anybody have any advice for me? This happened with the other presentation I did, and I had my husband come help me, but I don't want to please at work. Does anybody have any advice for me for why the presentation's not moving? Down arrow, side arrow, enter.
Have you tried screen sharing?
It is screen shared. Maybe Jerry has to. Oh, you're on mute, Jerry. You're on mute.
Sometimes there's something in there that says activate PowerPoint or something like that. Start PowerPoint, begin PowerPoint.
Oh, wait. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
All right, so I guess, okay.
Somebody just signed up and they're coming in late.
Okay. So the focus of my presentation today is not the typical weight loss approach that some dietitians might focus on, but to change our mindset, to nourish our bodies, to change the way we think about food. It's a new mindset for your life, and it's based on intuitive eating principles. We're going to learn how to improve nutrition without giving up the foods that you and your family love. We're going to discuss a lot about diet culture and damage that it can cause. We want to create a healthy relationship with food. We want to make smart, informed choices so that we can teach you how to live a healthier life and stop with the good food, bad food mentality. We'll be discussing that a lot. Doing that again. So diet culture, body image, to help, what does healthy mean? Meal and snack choices, hunger and fullness, and emotional and mindful eating. So we are really bombarded with conflicting diet messages from the media. And no wonder it's so hard for us to figure out, are carbs good? Are carbs bad? Should we eat more fat? How much protein do I need? Should I go vegan, paleo? These mixed messages, they really do create a very hard understanding of nutrition. And these mixed messages are just going to lead us to quickly jump from one fix to another, which is doing more harm for our health than good. So I'm going to uncover the power of balance as a registered dietitian. And to be honest, if I wasn't a registered dietitian, I would be just as confused as some of you are. So if you want to write in the chat box right now, something that you are maybe completely confused about that's out there, there's too much messages out there, and you don't know what's right, what's wrong. Well, first of all, make sure you go to a registered dietitian. That's somebody that got their bachelor's degree from an institution, and then they completed their coursework in food and nutrition. They know the science behind nutrition. Complete 1,200 hours of practice through an accredited internship program, pass a national exam. Every 5 years, continue getting 75 credits in education to keep up with current science information, and a protected title as an RD. I'm also a certified diabetes educator. A nutritionist could be anybody. It could be any of you out there that has no formal education requirements, no exam, no continuing education requirement, no protected title. And I have had many people that come to me that say, I've definitely got my fair share of poor nutrition advice in my life from somebody that wasn't a registered dietitian. Nutrition is complicated, but nutrition is not complicated, but diet culture is. I want you to think about that statement for a minute. The definition of the word diet is what? It's the sum of food and drinks that a person habitually consumes. But dieting is the practice of attempting to achieve or maintain a certain weight through a diet. And that dieting can be a form of disordered eating, not the same as an eating disorder. A short-term weight loss that can involve very drastic changes to a person's normal eating habits. How many diets do you think are out there right now? You can type in the chat box. Do you think there's 10 diets, 30 diets, 100, thousands? And then somebody is confused about how much carbs, fat, protein, sugar to eat. Good. Somebody wrote 500 diets, hundreds. So there are 37 if you look it up on Wikipedia, from paleo to vegan to keto to zone to clean eating to high protein to Weight Watchers to Jenny Craig. And you don't have to be on a diet to be affected by that billion-dollar diet industry out there. A diet is going to sell you an idea that one food can make or break your health, which is completely false. That is an all or nothing approach. In reality, and the science of nutrition is that our bodies function based off what we feed it over a long period of time. All food is good for our soul and our bodies. And as a dietitian, I'm going to help you to improve the way that you look at food so that it develops into a healthy and nourishing relationship for your life. I mean, it is the longest relationship in our lives. We have to eat every single day, so we might as well enjoy it. We need to understand the harm of diet culture. And if you have children, whether they're young or older, we need to teach them this, that it's an unhealthy relationship with food and also our bodies, where there are rigid rules, specific times to eat, what foods to eat, what amounts to eat. Has anybody heard of the don't eat after 7 o'clock at night rule? These are all not true. Please type in the chat box things that you have done before that are similar to those rigid rules that I can guarantee 99% of the time was not sustainable for your life. Please type that in the chat box now, anything that you've done in the past. So what begins to happen is there's a guilt and a shame, and some people, a binge can set in, and that's your body's physiological response to being restricted. It's not you giving up. It's not you not having willpower, but instead it's the low energy in your body. Somebody wrote eliminate dairy and gluten, eliminate carbs, Whole30, elimination. We are all born as intuitive eaters. We're all born able to trust our body's fullness and hunger. But diet culture and all of these rules and restrictions get in the way of our actual ability to self-regulate with food. Some people lose that sense of hunger and fullness, and they eat when they're full or they don't eat when they're hungry, which I discussed in detail in the last section of the presentation. This is a really wonderful slide that captures how both food categories can and should fit into your life. And this is what I teach every single day. Nutrition should actually be nice and simple. The top foods have more micronutrients, which includes vitamins and minerals. The bottom food categories have less micronutrients. They have more macronutrients. But what's going to happen when we restrict the bottom category? Even for a few months, what will happen to you? You can type that in the chat box. If you're only eating the foods in the top category, or what has happened to you in your past when you did this? You want more of the foods in the bottom category. Very good. 99% of people are not going to be able to sustain their life just eating the foods on the top. And all of these foods should be enjoyed and should fit into a healthy diet. If your daughter or son asked you, would you like to have some chips and M&Ms? And the parent said, oh no, sweetie, you know what? I can't eat that garbage. It's just bad. There's sugar and there's fat. And you know, I would probably just eat too much. So I need to watch my weight. What is this mother's statement teaching this child in this scenario? You can type that in the chat box. The mother might not realize what they're teaching. They might just say what they felt, that food they thought was bad and they thought that would cause a weight gain. But what are they teaching that child? And it's a pretty damaging statement that food is garbage and it's bad and it's sugar. That's all damaging. Teaching guilt about food, very good. They teach that these foods are bad and there should become a shame and a guilt and a negative relationship with that food can begin very young. So instead, if the mother said, sure, sweetie, I'm going to eat some with you, and they create a happy memory, they show the child that positive relationship with food, they also neutralize the food and they don't make that food such a big deal. The idea that foods have a moral value is extremely problematic, and it can be misconstrued so easily. You and your children and your families could fear a food. Is there any food that you fear right now? You can write it in the chat box. Because you were taught that it was bad for you. But if we can erase the thoughts that food can be good or bad, then we can recognize that food has no morality, and we may find this whole nutrition thing a whole lot easier than it seems. There are foods, of course, that have less nutrients and foods that have more nutrients. But we are not good because we are eating a salad and bad because we are eating a donut. We are good either way. Whether your snack is a cookie or grapes, or whether your meal is a salad or pizza, you are still a good person. There's nothing to do with the food. It's just that you might be eating a less nutrient-dense food. So please stop with the good and bad talk about food. And somebody wrote that chocolate and cheese would be their fear food. Be very realistic with yourself and your family and the way that eating should be sustainable for your life. Please do not try to be healthy or good and then your body's underfed, undernourished, and you're going to finish an entire bag of chips and feel uncomfortably full. Has that ever happened before to anybody? Where they say, oh, I'm going to be good, I'm going to just have some eggs and some salad and this. And then whether it's the end of that night or whether it's a couple of days later, have you ever ended up eating too much chocolate, too much chips, too much whatever it is? Has that happened?
Yes.
So the reasons for overeating is typically that your food needs are not met during the day. Think about how many times you might have skipped breakfast and just had coffee for breakfast, and you didn't honor your hunger. And then you're going to be so ravenous later in the night because your physiological response to being underfed. Right, so somebody wrote they go crazy eating at night. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Your needs are not met throughout the day, and your body's physiological response to being underfed is screaming at you, saying, please feed me. You never fed me. So some reasons to feel bad is on the left top of the slide is, if you cheated, if you lied, if you ate something spoiled or rotten, not if you ate ice cream or you ate cake. That's just silly. But people out there have so much of this guilt when they eat these foods in my experience, once they work with me, they begin to have less and less guilt, and they never label foods anymore, and they have food flexibility. So look at the slide on the right, being good, being bad, but then being realistic. Please be realistic with yourself. Now I'm going to move on to a few slides about body image. When we talk to ourselves about our own bodies, please choose kind. Instead of, I need to change the way my body looks, you can say, I'm having a bad body image day, and that's okay. I'm going to still treat my body with the kindness and respect it deserves. It's not healthy to look in the mirror and then say, you know what, I don't deserve to eat today. I don't like the way my body looks. No, your body deserves to eat today, and it deserves to be fed and nourished. So I'm going to focus on numbers 1, 4, 5, and 8. Number 1, if there's one thing that comes out of this presentation today, it is that you need to nourish your body 4 to 6 times daily, not just 2 to 3 times. I am talking about, I don't care whether it's a meal or a snack, or if you had 6 snacks a day or 6 meals, I don't care what it is, but you need to nourish your body 4 to 6 times every single day, not just 2 to 3. Number 4, some people live in smaller bodies and some people live in larger bodies. We have to really respect that not everybody's body is created equal. And I have worked with clients who they don't eat a lot. They eat when they're full. They honor their hunger. They move in a great way that they enjoy, and their bodies are larger. And I've had some clients that say to me, what do you mean? Somebody that's 250 pounds, they must be eating everything. And I say, no, that's not true. You have to respect that some people could be nourishing their body in the right way, but their bodies are just created larger. Number 5, we do not need to know the number on the scale to take care of ourselves. It's extremely toxic, and it could be harmful to so many people. Trying to control your weight is not a good way to try to improve your health. And it's studied and it's researched that this fixation on your weight can cause disordered eating and eating disorders, and not being happy with yourself and letting that affect your mood for the day. We're going to talk a little bit more about the scale in the next slide. Number 8, I need to exercise so I can eat whatever I want. You should change that to, I am going to eat the right way to get the energy I need for exercising. And I'm going to move in a way that's joyful and fun. One of my clients went on the treadmill 5 times a week and she disliked it. And then she started to do dance videos that she liked. She learned that the exercise and food connection, to let go of that and just to think about exercise separate from food, not a way to enhance exercise, not a way to erase food. So please type in the chat, which numbers will you work on in your life now? After hearing me discuss this slide, I hope that you're going to work on some of these. Maybe somebody could work on number 5. That would be pretty wonderful, and that would actually improve your health. Good. 4 and 5, 1 and 8, 4. Very good. And I will get to your question later about somebody was asking, why should we eat 4 to 6 times a day? So the scale, I'm going to read off a couple of things that are affecting a person's weight. The time of day, your hydration status, salt intake, type of food, medications, exercise, hormone shifts, menstrual cycle, sleep quality, bowel movement, and stress. What the scale does not measure is your body composition. So you might in fact be healthy, but the scale is not reflecting that. It can make people give up on their health if it allows them to dictate their mood for the day, or if it allows them to be the only results that defines them, or that the only results that defines their health. if it's bringing a person down, you really should toss it forever. And there's going to be so much success that can be measured through behaviors. I provide my clients with a handout on ways to measure your health success without knowing a number, without a scale. Something extremely surprising to many people that have attended my other 4 presentations is the information I'm about to tell you. The BMI is not an accurate measure of health. The most widely used method for assessing a person's weight was actually never intended for clinical use. It was made by an astronomer, Adolf Quetelet, in the 1830s to measure populations, not individuals, for purposes of statistics, not for purposes of health. This was 200 years ago. Despite all of the advances in science, we are really far from being able to measure our body fat conveniently and accurately in a doctor's office. Medicine's over-reliance of this BMI, it's really harming our health, and it was never intended to measure body fat, build, health. It can cause a person to feel shameful about their weight, that there's this overweight status. And on June 17th, 1998, the BMI was changed from 27 to 25, making probably 25 million Americans went from being healthy weight to overweight overnight. And who did that benefit? Diet industries, insurance companies, federal government. Many experts do agree that the BMI is extremely flawed. All of these people have a BMI of 27. However, their waist to hip ratio and their waist to height ratio is normal. And that is another way to measure health. The waist is less than half your height. It is very shameful that doctors are not educated that a highish BMI of 27 can be perfectly okay and healthy. And a doctor that tells somebody that they're overweight can be frustrating. And one of these women in an article said that she worries for young people who will be pushed into losing weight as a result of their BMI. Labels like overweight and obese assign an illness based on size alone, which is stigmatizing and can cause stress, anxiety, and shame. Oh, and you can see here that the greatest health risk is actually underweight status. And there's not a very big health risk in the 25 to 29 range. And over 30% are considered healthy. So you can see how this is all skewed and not accurate. So in summary of the BMI, really your ideal body weight is whatever weight you are when you're mindfully nourishing yourself with food and moving in a way that you enjoy. Health behaviors play a much, much bigger role in our health than the number on the scale, and greater self-esteem, better body image, better life satisfaction, less disordered eating, all happen when we focus on these behaviors, and that is studied. A balance for life, because weight is an outcome. It's not something that you can change. A behavior is something that you can change. And your natural body size is the weight that you exist without severe restrictions, over exercising, or obsessive food thoughts. And we have really been sold a complete myth that you're fully in control of the size and shape of your bodies. This feeling is a product of the society that we live in. We can all live in smaller and larger bodies. And this sums up the component of body image. When I meet with clients, I ask them, what does health mean to you? And most will say nutrition or diet. But we are going to take a look at a lot of other things that make up your health, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Do not neglect these important areas of self-care: sleep, movement, stress, the total overall picture of health. We want to create sustainable habits. So what if instead we asked ourselves, what does healthy mean? And we say, we're going to introduce more self-care. We're going to increase our vegetable and our fruit intake. We're going to focus on our quality of sleep. We're going to stress less. We're going to have more of a social life. Not right now. We're going to have better relationships, not just again about that weight, how you can better take care of your body and not just about diet and exercise. Healthy eating. The healthiest foods to eat is foods that support your physical and mental well-being. Healthy eating is not perfect eating, and perfect eating is for sure not healthy eating. If you only ate the so-called healthy, more nutrient-dense foods, that would be normal eating. That wouldn't be normal eating. And the reason is because no single food choice can be blamed for your health, for good health or for poor health. Not one single food choice can. So please enjoy all the foods that you love in balance and in variety. A question you need to ask yourself is, can I eat this way for the rest of my life? And I'm sure if you were ever on any diet, the answer would be no. But why do people continue to go on diets? You can answer that in the chat box right now. People know that diets, I don't know if you all know this, but 95% of diets fail, and 5% of the success rate, a big percentage of those people are disordered eating. So if 95% of diets fail, and people might actually even gain more weight back than they started at, why do you think it's still so successful? So again, the key word is flexible. Diets are not flexible. They are not that. They are rigid. They are strict. And that is not sustainable for your life. Maybe it's sustainable for 2 to 5% of the population, but that's about it. Another important thing to recognize is that some days you are actually going to be more hungrier than others. So really be gentle to yourself, be gentle to your family and everybody, because don't walk away from a meal hungry. We're going to discuss that too. So some people wrote, diets build because you see transformations of people that do make it work, get thin quick. Yep. So it's all just fad. And leaving a meal truly satisfied is the key to sustaining your health and your behavior changes over time. Not anything severe restriction, just a nice balance. And all of these things are myths. Have you ever believed any of these to be true on this slide right here? I provide my clients with a list of 10 diet myths before we begin our sessions, because I need to understand what are their beliefs before we even start. And some of those myths are included on this slide. A lot of people do feel that that after 7 rule is something they should be following, and that's completely false. And this slide summarizes a balance and what healthy is really with emojis. So you think you should eat like this, you end up eating like this, so why not try eating like this? Okay, and a balance really means eating balance with nutrients that are filling and satisfied, choosing foods that are physically and mentally nourishing, understanding and accepting that all foods are allowed, and honoring your sanity and your goals. So we're going to talk about some adult and kid-friendly snack and meal choices. Everybody's going to receive 3 planners for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've gotten tremendous feedback that these really simple, nice planners are really super useful and families are really loving them. The portion sizes that I list there are general. If you feel hungry after you eat what I advise, then please, that's your own individual need. Or if you feel too full with what I advise, you have to go by, how you feel. That's part of learning and trusting your body. So some ideas for breakfast could be waffles, it's either English muffin or pancakes on the bottom, and a high fiber cereal with some fruit. Some lunch ideas could be, you can make a little snack plate that's on the top left, with fruit and crackers and cheese or turkey and carrots or cucumbers, tomatoes, whatever fruit. You could put something really simple together like that on a really busy day. You could have pizza with some veggies. You could have a quesadilla with some fruit. And then that looks like a tuna fish bagel with some cucumbers. And you can write in the chat box which ones you like of the breakfast and lunch. I'm going to talk specifically about this, this bento box. A good friend of mine who's a dietitian, 2 years ago, I took this picture, and it's what she packs her kids for lunch. This could be for an adult or a kid, okay? And children eat their meal in the pattern that they want to, okay? So you can't tell your child, and you can't even tell yourself, like, you know, you might want to choose to go for your potato before your vegetables, or your protein before your carbs. However you choose to eat is fine. And we need to trust our body, and we need to be aware that if we start children, just teaching them that this little Kit Kat bar or whatever chocolate is just another component of that meal. So it's purposefully added into their lunch. And children that see a variety of nutritious starches, carbs, protein, fat, fruit, vegetables, and the candy chocolate, they're going to learn that this is just a balance of everything. And it's going to actually improve their health. They're not going to crave that food as much. Just like the lunch had the Twix and the dessert included, some families, and even as an adult, if you want to do this, you're welcome to. I've seen some great results with it, is to actually put a little sweet with your meal. So you see the top middle picture has the cupcake with the cucumbers, pizza, and fruit. So starting with parents of young children, if you put that treat there, it makes the child feel really responsible and trusted, and it eases supper time tension, because sweets shouldn't be a reward. It creates dessert on a pedestal, and it doesn't teach healthy eating. It actually makes kids dislike nourishing vegetables and protein and carbs because they have to work to get the treat. And I've seen many parents skeptical at first and say, what do you mean I'm going to include a dessert with dinner? But dinner becomes more relaxed, and after a few weeks and months and years, the dessert is just another component of the dinner, neutralizing and normalizing that food. And I'm talking about a small cookie, a small cupcake, maybe a few M&Ms, maybe a few chips, and nothing crazy. Maybe a donut split into 4 for a family of 4. Just something to normalize that food. All of these snacks can and should fit into either whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult. But the most balancing snack will be something with 2 or 3 food group categories, such as an apple with peanut butter and some cucumbers or some carrots, or crackers with cheese and celery. But that's not accessible all the time to have 3 food groups. So you can choose other things, but it might not be as satisfying for a long time. Somebody wrote that they like the idea of a treat after meals to satisfy the treat. Yeah, or with the meal or right after. Very good. A little bit more about children and exposure is that if a child doesn't eat it, just exposing them to it, just getting it on the plate is good. They don't have to touch it. They don't have to eat it, but they just have to look at it. And a really great phrase to say is, you don't have to eat it. If you say that time and time again, I bet you your child is going to eat it. Because if you say, eat it, eat it, eat it, they're going to want to do the opposite. There was a study done where they had children in a room, and they said to them, they had different colored M&Ms, like red and green and orange or whatever. They said, please do not eat the red M&Ms. Anything, you could have any M&M you want. Don't eat the red M&Ms. What are they going to do? Right? They probably think it's special or whatever. They all ate the red M&Ms in the study. So, we want to make sure that we say you don't have to eat it, and just take that pressure away. Some children might need to try a food up to 10 times before they'll accept it, and another 10 times before they want to like it. If you say you can eat your ice cream if you eat the broccoli, then it's going to make the child more interested in the ice cream, and eating the healthier food is a chore. Also, get your child involved in cooking or prepping of the vegetables. Offer vegetables on the side of their snacks. So if they're having chips or they're having apples or a cookie, put some carrots on the side, put some cucumbers on the side. Even if they don't eat it the first 10 or 20 times, after months, they might start to eat it. You'd be surprised. And some comments about what is yours to control and not to control. So commenting on a child's body size or food choices, they're growing, they need autonomy, they can self-regulate. You don't know what their happy weight range is for their body, and restriction of intake can lead to deprivation and food rebellion. Pushing a child to eat a vegetable or something they don't choose is just as harmful as pushing your child to restrict. The feeding relationship is all about trust. Now we're going to move on to hunger and fullness. Please honor your hunger and give your body what it's asking for, fuel and nourishment. Can you raise your hand, or can you type in the chat if you've ignored your hunger before? Maybe you were too busy. Maybe you weren't sure what you want to eat. Maybe you just ate and you're asking yourself, why am I still hungry? I just ate. Well, diet culture and society will tell us, go drink water, go for a walk, go call a friend. But what should you actually be doing is eating. Honor that hunger. Your body's asking you for food. This is not about willpower here. One of the best gifts you can give yourself and your children is to trust your own bodies and to listen to hunger and to fullness. Just like you would go to the bathroom, make sure you honor that hunger. Think about that the next time you feel hunger. It is normal and it is healthy to feel hungry every 2 to 3 hours. Just like somebody asked before in the chat, why are we eating 4 to 6 times a day? It's because the body's natural rhythm is supposed to be hungry every 2 to 3 hours. If it is not, that might mean that you're overeating at a meal. You might want to reevaluate and say, well, maybe I should be eating a little bit less at a meal so that I should feel a little bit hungry 2 to 3 hours later. From time to time, we are going to use food as a coping mechanism and eating for reasons other than hunger. Has anybody ate for a reason other than hunger? They were full, but they were still eating, right? Because it either tasted good or they were emotionally eating. So this is nothing to be ashamed about. This is 100% normal, and it's actually mentally healthy to do this. We have to keep guilt away from eating, and guilt and shame is actually more unhealthy for you than any food you're going to eat, because guilt is not an ingredient. Food is delicious and comforting, and we all have taste buds. We are meant to enjoy food. It's not a bad thing to eat emotionally, but it is going to become a problem if it's happening often and not just from time to time as an adult or a child, and you're using a coping mechanism of food to deal with problems in life, then you need to find other coping mechanisms. If you're truly full and eating, that is not healthy. But if you're hungry and you're eating, that is healthy. So if you're hungry and you think you should eat less, eating lower calorie is the message that many diets are giving us. Please type in the chat box before if you have read calories or if you have heard from somebody how many calories you should be eating and, all this calorie nonsense. I don't focus on calories at all with my clients, and they do extremely wonderful. Eating low calorie is actually low energy. Imagine walking into a supermarket and the label says low energy, low energy. Are you going to pick up that food? Absolutely not. Foods such as rice cakes, diet, jello, or pudding are some foods that come to mind for me when I think about low energy, low calorie foods that are not giving you any nourishment. If you enjoy that, then great. But if you don't like that food, please don't eat it. If you start to think of calories as energy and nourishment, and then you focus less on that label. So maybe stop reading the label and just sit down and enjoy the taste, smell, and texture and look. Notice when you feel satisfied and move on. You will spend extra time thinking about food and letting diet culture run the show instead of what your body actually needs and wants. We were maybe taught in many ways to ignore our hunger and maybe even praise for it. But at the end of the day, you know your body the best, and your body has your back. This hunger is a biological sign that you need to practice and you need to listen, and you're going to develop trust. You're going to eat with more flexibility and satisfaction, because the ultimate self-care is eating when you're hungry. Some people have really suppressed these hunger signs for so long that the very clear signs are so hard to interpret. And mindfulness can help you better understand the signals your own body sends when it comes to you to need replenishment, which will be discussed shortly. Whether you're an adult with older children, or whether you don't have children, or whatever it is, we need to stop restricting, because it's done out of good intention, but this restriction can cause problems for yourself, your child, your family down the road, or maybe it has already caused problems in your life if you have felt restricted. Overeating when those limited foods become available. Why would somebody overeat when they feel restricted? You can write that in the chat, and we'll talk about that. But kids can become, and adults can become obsessed with foods that are limited or forbidden, and this is going to lead to feeling deprived. And this actually could promote gaining weight and overeating and an unhealthy relationship with food. So don't be afraid to legitimize forbidden foods. Bring them to the table as part of the meal. Plan them into daily eating, so eventually it neutralizes the food. And please stay calm around junk food, sweets, or other indulgent foods. If you stay extremely calm and it's just food. That's what it is. It's nothing special. Right. Excellent answer. You don't know when you're going to have it again. Right. So one of my clients, she ate a half of Hershey Kisses, like maybe half a bag. And this is a couple months ago, and she felt so sick because she's like, well, I don't eat the Hershey Kisses all the time. And I said, well, what if you started eating a couple of Hershey Kisses every day with lunch? Or you had a few Hershey Kisses as a snack every day? And what do you think's going to happen over time? She's not going to ever want to eat a whole bag of Hershey Kisses again. So the more you restrict, the more you binge. The more you include it, the less you binge. And a life where you give yourself this unconditional permission to eat is not the same as a life of excessively eating nutritionally poor food choices with abandon. Once you give yourself this unconditional permission, in the beginning, you might eat a little bit more. But over time, people realize, I don't even like Doritos. I don't even like cake. You actually are more mindful, and you realize the things that you really do enjoy, and you crave more nutrient-dense foods. So instead of looking at a meal as a possibility to fail or mess up, I want you to look at it as data collection for yourself or your children. Did I overeat? I learned something. Did the food make me feel good? I learned something. And use this data to make your next decisions. Please be realistic that 100% of the time, you're not going to be able to follow mindful eating. But if you're following it 0% of the time now, and you start 25 to 50%, then you're doing fabulous. The more you do it, the more you're actually going to want to continue. And being present in the moment when you eat is the best way to improve a healthy relationship with food. Think about how many times you might have just shoved things down and you were in a rush and you you didn't even enjoy that food or taste it or anything. That's what happens when I work with people and then they're like, I don't even like the taste of the foods that I used to binge on. So please be in the moment and have a satisfaction with the food and your awareness of your fullness and your hunger. We discussed this already with the commenting about how much someone's eating. This could go for anybody. I don't think all families nobody should be commenting on, oh, isn't that too much? Oh, you shouldn't get a second helping. You know, that's damaging. The person can make their own decision to when they feel satisfied, okay? So you can be trusted in time to feed yourself on a regular basis without restriction and eat in a way that supports your physical and your mental health. Please enjoy what you crave. Some weeks it might be cookies, it might be fruit, it might be a mixture of both. Whatever it is, please honor that craving and enjoy that food. So you're going to come to a dietitian like me. You're going to sit down and you're going to say, oh, this dietitian, Lauren, she's probably going to take away things that I love in my diet. She's going to remove all these things. Well, it's actually the complete opposite. I will never subtract. I will only add. So it's very interesting that when I ask the clients at the end of my sessions with me, what did you think I was going to be telling you? And they said, well, to eat more vegetables and fruit and this and that. But they walk out of my session or they finish the Zoom and they're very pleased because now they know that I'm going to be adding instead of subtracting. So let's take a look at the middle slide. We're not going to remove things from your diet. We're going to add for more energy on the top left. The bottom left, we're going to add for more nutrients. The top right, we're going to add for more satiety. And the bottom right, we're going to add for more balance. And food is more than just fuel. I've been talking about fuel for this whole presentation, but look at all the other things that is important for food, for your life, for celebrations. I've met with people before that didn't even go out to a restaurant because they were on a diet and they had to drink a shake or something. So they couldn't go to a restaurant and enjoy that memory with their friend or their family. I mean, that's harmful. So please enjoy food and make it that you're going to celebrate and love and culture and social and memories and pleasure and connection. And I really want to just end with a statement that what if we could all quit our healthy lifestyle? Because it's not something that you're on anymore, okay? So you're not on anything. You're just living and you're eating and you're nourishing your body, making your body and your souls feel good, okay? Again, you're not on anything anymore. You and your families are just living life, eating and nourishing your body with foods that make your body and your soul feel good. I really want to thank you for attending the 5th now presentation of Imperfectly Healthy. When we get off of the Zoom, I will be emailing you my brochure. If you are able to promote with your friends, your families, your whoever, I just would love for you to spread the word on my program. I'll email you a brochure. I'll email you a link that a couple of questions. If you can answer them for me, I'll have access to that. And I will also email you the meal plans, which I think you're really going to all love. So now I have time for a few questions and everybody can unmute.
You're still on screen share, Lauren.
Oh, so.
Yeah, just end that and then we can all, no, you're, there we go. Okay.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Did you guys learn a lot? It's a lot of information in 50 minutes.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
I am older and I think I've eaten healthy pretty much my life. Now I've gotten a diagnosis of pre-diabetes. So now I'm feeling I really do need to restrict what I eat as far as a treat. And also, I'm not as conscious of being full as I used to be. I seem to overeat, and it may be because I'm alone and it's easy to sit and read while I eat, which I know is not good. So there are a couple of questions: overeating and treating with pre-diabetes.
So I'm a certified diabetes educator. So I work with many, many people with pre-diabetes and diabetes, and I can definitely help you in a consultation with discussing that, but you do not have to restrict sweets with diabetes at all. And I can teach you how to include them. There's tricks and there's tips of not eating them alone, but a balance of other foods, so how it digests in your body differently and your sugar doesn't rise as much.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that's specific. Yeah.
How about what do you do when you start overeating? You're not aware of being, I mean, somehow I just eat more than I used to, and I don't like that.
Well, are you eating 4 to 6 times a day, or do you think maybe only 2 or 3?
No, I probably eat 4 to 6 times a day.
Then you might want to think about the specific food that you're overeating. Maybe it's something that you feel restricted with, and that's why you're overeating it, or not necessarily.
Don't know. I don't know.
It could be emotional too. It could be part of our COVID quarantine. I mean, so that's right. Okay. We all have to really be kind to ourselves right now, because weight gain is okay. I've gained weight too, and it is okay. All right.
Okay.
I mean, you can't beat yourself up over that. Look at the life we're living right now. So just being more aware of all the things I talked about, and maybe going for, maybe you will crave some nutrient dense things once you're, first of all, do you have any like good bad food mentality? Do you have that, or no?
Any what?
Do you have a good food, bad food mentality in your brain? Like, I shouldn't really eat this, but.
Yes, I love to bake, and I've made myself stop baking because I like to eat cake. And I say, no, that's bad.
Okay, so that's the number one thing we have to focus on, is that is not bad. So when you stop with this mentality of the bad, you actually see amazing things start to happen, because you give yourself that permission.
Okay.
And you don't actually want to eat so much in time once you give yourself that permission, and your mental clarity is so much better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. A lot of older adults have diabetes. It's an epidemic. And, I wonder about those treats, those little candies, those Twix bars, and, those little cupcakes and things, because you have heard don't eat sugar. So even though you talked about it, I just like to hear a little bit more.
Sure. So it's not about sugar, and you actually don't ever have to read sugar on a label ever for the rest of your life. You're just concentrating on total carbohydrates. So I do, I'll go over specifically, well, how many carbs at meals, how many carbs at snacks, and having the treat with a meal, with lunch or dinner, is going to help your sugar better than having it alone. Because you're eating it with protein, vegetables, fat, and that's slowing down the conversion of sugar than having it alone at a snack. But you could also have a snack that's combined with a little bit of protein, and that, that little treat with protein. So there's a lot of different ways, but the sugar thing, it's absolutely false. You can eat sugar every day when you have diabetes and still get your A1C level down. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've seen it happen.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, on that,
I wrote one. Did you see?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
what's your name?
Linda?
Substitutions sometimes are hard.
No,
to-
no, that was it broke. I have a very radical, outspoken daughter who's vegan and has been for a couple of years. And unfortunately for me, she's shown me things that once you see, you can't forget. So I have been easing toward it as out of more of a moral stand than a health stand. I've made some substitutions. There's a few things I don't eat anymore. And I figured, I've saved thousands of gallons in milk that I'm not buying anymore because I drink a different kind of milk. And I've made adjustments, and I like to cook. And but I don't like the substitutions that they have because they're often chemicals. Like if you really want cheese, you could buy this kind of cheese, but if you read it, it's just crap. And or the meat substitutes are okay, but they kind of bother my stomach. And it's like it's hard to.
Is there a reason
work it out just right? Because if there's any guilt or bad feelings, it's because I would rather be more vegetarian.
Is there a reason that you went vegetarian?
I don't know that it's so necessary to eat the stuff. I don't like to see the way things are slaughtered. I don't like to see all the chickens that are, crowded together. I'll buy like a nice farm, cage-free kind of thing. And I don't know that it's true. Maybe it just assuages my mind. It just seems morally right to do.
Well, and I respect.
And I wish I wasn't plagued with it. It's really a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I respect that. That's your opinion. I'm
working with it. I'm not completely there. I don't think I could ever be.
If you enjoy other protein foods that are, I don't know if you're balancing enough with your proteins and, but you will see on the meal plans, it's not all just protein from animals. It's other proteins and other healthy fats in there.
I look forward to it. I'm always looking for new things to make.
But substitution wise, I'm big on just going with the real deal and not having anything artificial and not having all these low fat things, just keeping it real and in a, not an excess portion. And I think you'd be very healthy. And then there was another question on intermittent fasting. I'm very against intermittent fasting. And I've seen damage, and especially for prediabetes and diabetes, because the liver will release excess sugar when we don't nourish our bodies consistently. So that would be very harmful if you had prediabetes or diabetes, and your metabolism will not increase if you're fasting. We want to keep that metabolism going through the day, and eating within an hour or two of waking up, and if you're not hungry for a snack, that's fine, but having a lunch and then having a snack between lunch and dinner and a dinner and a snack, keeping that flow. It's a nice flow of energy, but you might be eating a heavier lunch and then you might not feel hungry for 6 hours. So you might want to rethink that lunch then. Oh, maybe I'll eat a little lighter, and then maybe I'll have a little fruit in between or whatever snack in between. And then at dinner, it's a little bit healthier for your body.
Sounds good.
Yep.
what about substituting Truvia for sugar in your diet?
My first question would be, do you like the taste of Truvia or do you like the taste of sugar? That's my first question.
I don't know. I just bought it today, the Truvia. Tried it.
Okay, I mean, I'm all for sugar, regular sugar, a little, not having a big spoon or two, but a little teaspoon or two. I think it's fine. I don't think you need to put this artificial sweetener in your body. I'm not sure of what it could cause, and some studies do show that it could cause you to feel more hungry or gain more weight. So I would just go with the regular stuff that was 100 years ago, what were we eating? Were we having 200 years ago, were we having any of this artificial stuff or no? How was everybody's weight and health, 100 years ago, 200 years,
Better.
So get back to the basics, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember growing up in the 50s, the food was so natural, and now everything is so convoluted. And I try to get back to the more basic whole foods.
And just like how I started the presentation with, nutrition is simple. Diet culture is complicated, right? That's a very powerful statement because nutrition is really simple. And when clients work with me, they're like, wow, this really isn't that hard. Like they just need that basic knowledge and the ideas and the balance of everything and putting it together,